In South Africa's famous Kruger National Park, the most magnificent animals are also, well, the most destructive. We are talking, of course, about elephants. Their story is this incredible paradox of creation and destruction, and it forces us to ask a really tough question. What's our role in managing the wild? Let's dive in.
You know, this quote really gets to the heart of it. Elephants have this profound effect, not just on us when we see them, but on the entire world around them. And it's that incredible impact that creates the very dilemma we're going to unpack today.
So, to really get a grip on this problem, you first have to understand the elephant itself. And what science is now showing us about their inner lives, it's mind-blowing.
I mean, their intelligence is staggering. They have a super convoluted brain that gives them self-awareness, even empathy. Their memory is, of course, legendary, allowing them to recognize up to 200 other individuals. They actually mourn their dead. And get this, they communicate using over 400 different calls, a lot of them in infrasound. That's a frequency so low we can't even hear it, but it lets them talk to each other across huge distances.
And that memory, it's not just for remembering faces, it's basically the glue that holds their entire society together. The matriarch, the lead female of the herd, she carries this mental map in her head, a map passed down through generations that tells her where to find food and water. That knowledge is literally the key to her whole family's survival.
So this incredible brain power and social life translates directly to their role in the environment. Ecologists actually call them a keystone species. They're true ecosystem engineers. But, as you're about to see, engineering can be a very messy business.
To really understand their impact, just let this number sink in. 50 tons. 50 tons of vegetation. That is what just one adult elephant can eat in a single year. An appetite like that literally reshapes the world around them. And this is the core of the whole problem. On one hand, they're amazing creators. Their dung fertilizes the soil and spreads thousands of seeds. They push through dense thickets, opening up paths for other grazers. But on the other hand, they can be destroyers, toppling huge, mature trees, turning entire woodlands into grasslands, and that just devastates the homes of animals like canopy-dwelling birds.
So you have to wonder, how did we get here? How did we get to a point where their destructive side is such a massive concern? Well, the answer is in a pretty wild history of extremes.
For almost 800 years, the global hunger for ivory fueled this relentless hunt. By the time Kruger Park was even established, elephants had basically vanished from the landscape there, hunted almost to extinction in that region.
But inside the safety of the park, their numbers made an unbelievable comeback. From just a few spotted in 1905, the population grew so fast that by 1967, managers felt like they had to start culling, selectively killing them to control the numbers. But then, culling ended in 1994, and the population just exploded. Today, it's over 15,000, and it's still climbing.
And this brings us to something called the elephant compression problem. You have to remember, these are animals that used to wander over enormous, unfenced lands. Now they're concentrated inside the fixed borders of a park. All of their incredible power to reshape the land is focused on one single, finite area. And we have a really tragic example of what can happen when this goes wrong. Over in Kenya's Tsavo National Park, a compressed population just ballooned to 36,000. They dismantled the woodlands for food, and then, when a terrible drought hit in 1971, their food supply was already gone. The result was a total catastrophe. Up to 15,000 elephants starved to death, and they took most of the park's black rhinos with them.
So this history, it brings us to the huge debate that conservationists are having right now. With Kruger's elephant population booming, do you step in and manage them, or do you just let nature take its course, even if it looks really, really destructive?
Now, the argument for a hands-off approach is actually pretty powerful. Some scientists say that what happened in Tsavo, as horrible as it was, might have been part of a natural cycle of boom and bust. They believe if we keep populations artificially low, we'll never learn how these ecosystems are supposed to work over long periods of time. Maybe, just maybe, the woodlands are meant to become grasslands and then turn back again over centuries.
But the case for stepping in gets a lot more compelling when you see the collateral damage. This chart is just stark. In areas nearby without elephants, researchers found 100 vulture nests for every 100 square kilometers. Inside Kruger, where elephants have knocked down all the big nesting trees, they found only 10. For endangered raptors, that's an existential threat.
And, it's not as simple as just blaming the elephants. They're the ones knocking over the big trees, sure. But then, hungry impalas come along and eat the new seedlings before they can grow. And frequent fires also stop saplings from ever getting big. It's a really complex web, and elephants are just one very, very large part of it.
So what's being done about it? Culling is obviously super controversial, so park managers are now looking for creative, non-lethal ways to try and find some kind of balance.
Okay, so there are a few options on the table, but every single one has a major challenge. You could move the elephants, right? That's humane, but where do you put them? There aren't a lot of suitable places left. Birth control. It's possible, but it is incredibly expensive and a logistical nightmare to pull off. And even expanding parks across borders, that only gives you so much new space. There are no easy fixes here.
And it turns out, a key part of the problem isn't the food, it's the water. The park has hundreds of artificial water holes. So what happens? Well, almost the entire park, a whopping 92% of it, is close to a water source. This means the elephants never have to migrate far, and the vegetation gets zero time to recover. It is under constant pressure all year round.
And this realization has led to one of the most promising new strategies out there. Park management is starting to close down a lot of these man-made water holes. The goal is to try and bring back a more natural rhythm, to encourage the elephants to move between wet and dry season areas, which would give huge patches of the park a much-needed break from all that feeding.
Which brings us right back to that huge central question. In a world where our greatest parks are really just giant fenced-in nature reserves, letting nature take its course isn't really an option anymore. We saved the elephants from extinction, and now it feels like we have to save the parks from the elephants. The real conundrum isn't what the elephants are going to do next, it's what we are going to choose to do.